from those countries realized that if they were independent, they would be able to keep all of their incomes inside their own country, invest in the country, maybe help the people and the economy. But of course, as soon as they've declared that they want to be independent, that's when the war broke out. The war in these areas lasted 5 years. So from 1990 to the end of 1995, all of the countries were in war, and of course that each country suffered great losses. Basically, all of the countries did get their independences in 1995, except for the country of Montenegro. The country of Montenegro, in the year of 1992, had to form an alliance with the country of Serbia, and they were up in that alliance up until 2006. So basically, we can even say country of Montenegro only became independent recently, and while they were in that alliance up until 2006, nobody who was living in Montenegro was allowed to leave the country, and nobody who wasn't living in Montenegro was allowed to enter the country. So basically, we can also say that they were a closed country for some period of time, and throughout that period of time, they did have a lot of issues in the country as well. A fort at the end of one of the capes, not the first one, but the second one. That actually is the Cape Brevaca, that is still located in Croatia. That is the last point of the whole Croatian country, and that cape was very important throughout the war period, mostly because of its strategical position. It allows you to see anyone approaching from both land and seaside, and of course that every side wanted to be in control of that cape throughout the war, but thankfully it always remained under the Croatian government and the Croatian property. Now currently we are driving throughout the municipality of Herceg-Novi. Herceg-Novi is a very beautiful area. It has a very long walking area that's located next to the seaside, and that walking area is actually 7 kilometers long. Basically, you can walk from the entrance to the municipality all the way to the end. There is also a variety of restaurants and bars that are located there. One of the cities and the areas that we are going to be passing throughout on the drive, we are going to be passing above the city of Beras on the drive towards Kotor, so that will give you a chance to see the city before even going to the city, and we are going to be able to see the island of Our Lady of the Rock that we are going to be visiting a bit after in the day. Now, the island of Our Lady of the Rock is actually not a natural island, it's an artificial island that was man-made. The story behind why the people from Beras decided to build an island and a church is, one day before the night fell, two brothers that were known fishermen in Beras went out fishing. As I said, I will remind you one more time because we are going to have a long day before we get to the island. Next to the island of Our Lady of the Rock, we are also going to have a chance to see one other island. That one is going to be a natural island. It's called the island of St. George, or commonly called the island of the dead. Now, the reason why they call it the island of the dead is, for a long time, the city of Beras did not have a cemetery of the city, so everyone would be buried on that island. They had a lot of noble families that were living in the city of Beras. When somebody from a noble family would die, they would bury them inside of the church on the island, and if somebody from not noble family would die, they would bury them inside the woods on that island, and that is why also that island today is forbidden for any kind of visitations, because it still is a very big cemetery, so they really don't let the people walk around. The only people who ever will use the island, actually the monastery on the island, are the Benedictine priests that once they arrive to Montenegro, either for business or vacation, they will use the monastery on the island as a place to stay. Often throughout the summer. No worries, I found the fort, so here we go. So, there are ladies. Here I am,
Coming here by cruise ship. It's fun.
of Paris. And maybe you can notice at the bottom of both hills that there is a lighthouse. So on the hill of the left side and the right as well. Between those two lighthouses, and if you cannot spot them from here, we are going to be passing through that area, so I will point them out one more time. But basically, between those two lighthouses, during the Venetian government, there was a very big chain that was held in here. Above the city of Paris, maybe you can notice ruins of a fort that used to be a guarding fort, and those guards would be looking over the chain. Whenever a boat wanted to enter the Bay of Kotor, they had to stop in front of that chain. They had to raise the flag under which they were sailing, and then the guards from the fort would be looking out for the flag and signaling the people working on the lighthouses either to drop the chain and let the boat in, or keep the chain in the air and that way deny them the entrance to the bay. All of that worked perfectly up until one day when some of the pirates that were cruising throughout this area realized that all they have to do is acquire a different flag from their own, and somehow they were able to acquire none other than the Venetian flag itself. So when they arrived to the area, they were stopped, of course. They were asked to raise the flag, and they rose the Venetian flag. They were let in the bay, and they ended up robbing the cities that were located in the bay. Also, in another 5-ish minutes, we are going to be able to see both islands of Our Lady of the Rock and the island of St. George, and have a much better view of the city of Paris. Before entering the city of Paris, driving above it, we are going to drive throughout the city of Risson. Now, the city of Risson is even smaller than the city of Paris. They have around 80 people that are living there permanently. But the city of Paris, so if there ever was treasure, it's apparently still hidden in the mountains above the city of Risson. Now, this is the area where the chain was held. You can see across from us a lighthouse, and at the bottom of the road that we are driving on, and that is between where the chain was held in the air. And as soon as we make the curve, we are going to be able to see firstly the city of Paris, which will give you a much better chance of seeing the ruins of the guarding fort above the city. And first island that we are going to be seeing is the island of St. George, that has a very beautiful forest, pine and cypress forest on it. And the island with the blue cupola, the blue rooftop, is the island of Our Lady of the Rock that we are going to be visiting a bit afterwards. Now, inside of the church on the island, you also have a small museum that is located on the first floor of the church. In that museum, you can find some of the original stones that were used for the construction of the island in the first place. Also, you can find a lot of armory that was found in the city of Paris that is also quite old. And there is also going to be a picture that was taken above the island. And on that picture, you will have a chance to realize that the island actually has a formed areas other than some of the beaches. The mountains that you can see that are surrounding the bay, the highest point of these mountains is actually 1,000 meters above the sea level, while the mountains in the interior part, where they do have a couple of those ski resorts, the highest point over there is 3,000 meters above the sea level. These mountains that we can now see, they have a lot of underground waters and rivers that are running throughout them, and once it happens that this area has a lot of heavy rains, for example for a couple of days that it just doesn't stop, what happens is we can see waterfalls that are forming from the mountains because the water level does rise quite a bit and the water needs to go out somewhere. Throughout the next also 5-ish minutes, we are going to be passing next to the area where one of those waterfalls is coming out from. And now on the right side, you can see the oldest port in the country of Montenegro, and that is the one that was always only used for the construction of the ships. Now, once you get to Kotor, if there are some things that you think you necessarily won't be needing for the rest of the day. Of course, you're more than welcome to leave them on the bus. The bus is going to be locked and parked for the whole duration of our tour. However, take some of your documents because you never know when you might need a document in the city. And be careful once you're in the city with your belongings. There wasn't a lot of cases of pickpocketing in Kotor, but there were some, so it's better to warn you right away. Just keep your bag somewhere close to you, and you shouldn't be having any other issues in the city of Kotor. Now we can also see the city of Erisan located, and you can see the mountains where apparently there is a lot of treasure hidden. So where one of those waterfalls is coming out from once they form. Now you can see the area on the left side. We can see that there is some water coming out. So this was built so that the waterfall wouldn't go over the road that we just passed on. But a couple of years ago, this area had a lot of heavy rain for almost 2 months that didn't stop. And at one point, what happened? The waterfall started going above the road that we are now driving on. And at the same time, when the waterfall skipped over, there was a car that was passing through. The car got hit right away. Luckily, the lady that was driving fell out of the car before the car hit the bay, and they found the car day after on the completely opposite side of the bay. So that's how strong those waterfalls can actually get. Often there is even one that forms next to the city of Kotor, but it really needs a lot of heavy rains for that one to form. Even the people people of Kotor are a bit afraid once that happens, because they never know if it's going to be so strong that it might damage some of the areas that are close by. But usually that waterfall happens very rarely. Now we have entered the city of Risan. We're going to drive for another minute throughout the city, and then in another 2 minutes we are going to be driving above the city of Paris, and you will have a very beautiful view of the whole city from above, but also of the two islands located in front. And throughout the next 25-ish minutes we should be arriving at our destination in the city of Kotor. On the right side also you can see one of these oyster and mussel farms. You can also see a fisherman that is fishing currently. So up to this day, a lot of people in this coastal area basically still lives off fishing and growing the oysters or mussels. And as you can see, they have a couple of these smaller metal or wooden houses that are installed next to the road or below the road. Those are mostly built that whoever is traveling with a car and they just wanna stop and purchase or try some of the oysters and mussels, they can easily do it by pulling up to one of those small houses. And also a lot of them has arrangements with some of the restaurants or the hotels that are located in the cities nearby, and then they sell them their freshly caught or harvested products. So if today in your free time you decide to grab some lunch and you decide to try some of the seafood, you can be sure that it's gonna be caught freshly, latest throughout the last night or this morning. Now we are passing next to the islands, and in a moment we are gonna be driving above the city of Paris.
Yeah, stopping it.
This is where you receive the stuff. this part of the mountain as well. For the next 15-ish minutes, we should be arriving at our destination in the city of Kotor. We have now entered the suburban area of Kotor, which is called Dobrota. Now, the reason why this suburban area came to life basically is, as I said, the city of Kotor is quite small. At one point, they stopped having any available space to build something outside of the city. That's why they had to start building a bit outwards from the city area, and basically that's how they built up the whole suburban area. In here also, mostly you will be seeing newer modern buildings, but there is also going to be a couple of older buildings and houses located next to the road. We are slowly entering the municipality of Kotor. Now in front of us you can start seeing one part of the walls of Kotor that go pretty high up in the mountain, and we can see that there is one ship that is located in the port of Kotor. Throughout the next couple of minutes we are going to be arriving at the destination. Once we get there, I will let you know about the exact departure time, and then first I'm going to take you to the meeting point for the rest of the trip, and then I'm taking you to our local tour guide for the city of Kotor. So in a few moments we are gonna reach the drop-off location for our stay in Kotor. Once again, I will gather everyone in front of the bus, then we will walk together. I also have to warn you about the traffic lights here in case that you are planning to cross some of the roads on your own. In your free time, be very careful because sometimes the red traffic light can last for around 3.5 minutes up to 4, and then you have a green light that lasts for around 17 seconds. So just be careful if you're planning to cross the roads on your own. Now, first one, we are going to be crossing together, and on the way towards the boat, we are going to be crossing the roads together as well. And this is where we guys are going down.